What is up, everybody? This is Steve Breach coming to you here today. We are driving home on a Monday, and we got Monday Night Raw tonight. This morning, early morning, there was an announcement made, I believe it was by Variety, this time, that Muhammad Ali would be joining the WWE Wrestlemania Hall of Fame this year at Wrestlemania 40. It's just, honestly, it's only bad that they did this 8 years too late. If you go back, I guess that's like WrestleMania 31, WrestleMania 30. I know that Muhammad Ali was not in the best place in his life, but he was alive. He was still making appearances. I really wish that Muhammad Ali would have been around in order to go into the WWE Hall of Fame. There's no doubt in my mind that if they would have done this, WrestleMania 29 in New York, WrestleMania 30, WrestleMania 31 even, that I think Muhammad Ali would have been there, and his daughter probably would have been there with him. You would have done it at 30 or 31. You could even have Hulk Hogan do the induction for him to go in there. So I think that it is a good nod to Muhammad Ali. Most people will think about WrestleMania, where he was a special guest referee. He was on the outside. He was already retired from boxing at that time, but he was still a huge name for his boxing career, his I guess you can say his political stance that he took, where he didn't want to go and fight in the war. I think almost everybody has seen the Will Smith movie that chronicled how big of a star he was, how good he was at boxing, how his religious beliefs led him to kind of be swindled. It's probably one of the biggest storylines of that movie. Honestly, how the church wanted his money, so they kept on, when Muhammad Ali wanted to get a divorce, they said that that their religion was against divorce, but hey, if you give us this amount of money, we'll look the other way and we'll help you grant this divorce, so and you can get remarried. And there's a lot of things in that movie. It's really good. Go out of your way. It's not the best movie of all time. I'm surprised that Will Smith didn't win more awards for it, but really, really good. One of the things that you can look at in Muhammad Ali's career is that at one point in his career, when he was still boxing, he took on Inoki from Japan in a boxing versus wrestling match. Most people look back on it now as one of the first what would become MMA matches. If you go back and you watch what UFC was when it first started running those pay-per-views, it was almost like a Mortal Kombat event where they would just put people from different backgrounds into the octagon to see what would happen if a sumo wrestler took on a black belt karate guy, or it was kind of those first 5 or 6 pay-per-views are really, really weird before they started getting their grounding of having weight classes and this, that, and the other. It was almost like a freak show when it honestly first began, just to see people fight and go in there and see who was going to be the champion of that show. But that bout ended up going 15 rounds. The little bit I saw of it when I was a kid, I didn't think it was good. It was Ali not wanting to go down on the ground, and Inoki, taking a real low stance, trying to take Ali down, knowing that if he took him to the ground, he wasn't going to be able to fight back. It was kind of slow, but I think I definitely only saw highlights. I didn't see anything of it. And for some reason, I seem to remember Ali fighting against Gorilla Monsoon as well. Gorilla Monsoon was a really popular wrestler here in the United States before he became what he became for WWF. I just only knew him as the announcer, the guy who hosted Primetime. You know, he did things with Bobby Heenan that was really, really funny. I never saw him as a wrestler or anything like that, so I never knew what he was. But I at least I seem to remember seeing a clip of him fighting a boxer somewhere. It might have not been Muhammad Ali, but in mind, that's at least what I remember. WrestleMania 1, everybody, they're going to have to rewrite this story somehow. I don't know if they're just going to, you know, they've kind of put it out there to think is the person who named WrestleMania. They almost called it just Hulkamania. And then there was there's a really stupid name. It was Wrestle something. I can't remember what the other part of the word was. I'd have to go back and reread the WrestleMania book that I read years ago. But I mean, it was like Vince. You know, he had the idea like to go nationwide. He did it with that first what we call pay-per-view. But at the time, it was like closed circuit, which a lot of Muhammad Ali's boxing matches were at the time, because of course we all could have, you know, gone, you know, to Africa to see the big Foreman fight, or you could have just gone to your local movie theater and watched it. I don't know if it was live or if, like, I never had that in my time. I know I've heard of, like, Ravi would go to the movie theaters for big pay-per-views, that they would show them there, but they were live, and that kind of like makes sense, because I'm sure they didn't just like turn on the cable TV and just watch it that way and just put it on the big screen. But maybe it was like satellite or something. But were they satelliting these pay-per-views back in the 70s, or was it actually they recorded it, they taped it, then they sent the tapes out to all these movie theaters, and you had to go at a certain date and time to see it? And I guess maybe if you didn't read it in the paper, there really wasn't the internet, so it would have to be the newspaper or maybe the radio. You wouldn't hear it, so you would just go and see it. Maybe they had like a thing they weren't allowed to say who won until a certain date and time. Maybe they put like a chokehold on it or something like that. But, you know, Vince, you know, he had the best wrestlers there were in the United States. But, you know, to put it over the top, you know, they had Liberace come in, who I still really don't understand who or what Liberace was and why he was a draw. But he came out there and he, you know, did the can with the, what were they called? The rock, something dancers. They did the can thing. You know, and they had Muhammad Ali there to be the special guest referee. I grew up, and I remember the main event with the rematch from WrestleMania 5, which was Hulk Hogan against the Macho King, and they had Buster Douglas be there, and it was supposed to be Mike Tyson. I'm sure it would have been the same thing if Tyson would have won the fight in Japan, that Tyson would have knocked out Macho Man. But it was just like if they, you know, anybody got out of line, Ali would have knocked him out. You know, and that's why I think people wanted to see, with the likes of Piper, Orton, and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff being out there. And I think anybody in the crowd would have punched any of those guys for Hogan, Snuka. Does anybody really remember Snuka being out there? I know I can tell you that I'm not the biggest fan of the golden age of WWF. As many times as I've seen that, I don't really remember what Snuka and Bob Orton bring to that match. They could have a whole thing where they get involved in it. I just don't remember it, because I probably haven't seen it in forever, and that's just it. But Muhammad Ali, he honestly, he deserves it. I think it's a good nod to put him in. I honestly just wish that he would have been able to see it, because he deserves it. You know, to feel it and feel the love from the people. I remember, honestly, the 96 Olympics in Atlanta. I definitely wasn't there, but I was watching on TV as he was the Olympian who lit the torch. And I really didn't understand who he was at the time, and now I kind of do. That was kind of like, cementing him as like the best Olympian of all time for the United States, being like a leader for all of us. And I think that he, at that time, you could tell that the Parkinson's had taken over his body, but he was still able to perform the tasks that needed him to do. But he was able to feel accomplishment for what he did in his career, and hear like the thanks, for the people that were there in Atlanta to put him there. That's one hell of a feat for anybody to do. It's one hell of a feat for anybody even to hold the torch, let alone be the one who actually is the final person to light the actual Olympic torch at the Olympic Stadium. I don't think it was called Turner Field yet. That wasn't until the Braves moved in. But let's go. WrestleMania, I think we're 26 days away. Peace out, everybody.